Workers in India organize a massive 250 million person strike. Hey guys, this is Double D from the Entitled Millennials podcast, and this is my Thinking Out Loud series. Hey guys, I know it's been a while, and I know this news story is a little bit on the older side now, going on about a month, but I was reading about this Chalo Delhi movement, or the Go to Delhi mobilization movement that was going on in India on November 26th, and for me, I just felt like a huge burst of inspiration, felt a lot of organizational energy flowing through me, and I felt like this huge organizational movement of 250 million people, to me, it felt like a huge victory for working people, this number of working people to come out in solidarity over mutual issues, mutual economic, mutual working class issues. And I just wanted to take about 10 minutes and kind of break down what this mobilization effort in India is about and sort of ruminate on what it means as a bigger picture and what we as organizers, as working class people in the United States can learn from our comrades in India. So this massive mobilization is, as I said, called the Chalo Delhi mobilization, or the Go to Delhi mobilization. And it is in response to some of Prime Minister Modi's and his alt-right, or far-right party in India. It's a response to some of the crackdowns that they have had on previous mobilization efforts of the working class in India, and a response to some of the right-wing, or some might call neoliberal legislation, laws that have been passed through in India over the last decade that has really hurt the working class, but has especially hurt the working class in the agricultural sector. So obviously it's no mystery that over the last 10 or 20 years, we have really seen India grow as an economic powerhouse on the world stage, but specifically in the Far East. Now, with that has come the growth of the capitalist class in India. India has seen the growth of large corporations, and in particular, multinational corporations sort of getting their tendrils into the Indian economic and social system, which up until about 50 or 60 years ago, but particularly over the last 20 years, has remained untouched for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Even under British imperial rule, the economic systems which existed in India remained untouched for a very long time. There was India's classic caste system, which is a system of social strata that is both economic and social, which has existed since time immemorial there. But with globalization, with the growth of the capitalist class, we are seeing, as I said, these multinational corporations coming in, buying up the means of production. And in the agricultural sector in particular, we are seeing the growth of neoliberal policies, neoliberal trading policies, import, exports, tariffs, things of that nature. We are seeing large corporations buy up massive swathes of land and putting the ancestral or timeless role of the Indian farmer into a precarious situation. We are seeing hundreds of thousands of generations old family farmers losing their land, losing their contracts with the government, and in their place, large multinational corporations are taking over. Alongside this, of course, we have seen Prime Minister Modi's government, his far-right government, reel back on wages, make cuts to Social Security. But the biggest blow to the working class in India, particularly to the agricultural workers in India, has been the government's withdrawing of the minimal government price mandate. So in short, what this piece of legislation is that the government had to pay a bare minimal price for agricultural products. And this served as a sort of safety net for agricultural workers, for small farmers. And with that legislation being repealed, the already hurting agrarian class in India has been dealt an absolutely devastating blow. Obviously, what makes this mobilization so special, so amazing, so powerful is the sheer volume of working class people that showed up in solidarity together. 250 million people. Some experts are saying that that is one of the biggest labor movements in modern history. But it's not just the size that makes this movement so powerful, that makes this movement so special. It is the fact that dozens upon dozens upon dozens of trade unions and other labor organizations such as the Communist Party of India and the Communist Party of Liberation in India, all coming together to organize not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of working class people all working together like a well-oiled machine to march on Delhi and surround Delhi until they have their grievances addressed by the government. And I actually want to take a second here to kind of lay out a list of demands that these labor organizations and the communist parties of India have put forth to Prime Minister Modi's government, sort of a list of demands of what they are hoping to accomplish with this mobilization. So here I have a list of 7 demands put forward by this alliance of labor organizations in India. One is they're asking for a direct cash transfer of $7,500 or $101 in US to all families who earn less than the income tax threshold. 2, they're asking for a 10-kilogram free ration per person every month to all in need. 3, an expansion of the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act to provide employment from the current 100 days to 200 days work in rural areas. And this is for seasonal or migrant workers in India. It's a withdrawal of all anti-work labor code changes and anti-farmer laws like some of the ones that we discussed earlier. It is a stop, and this is a big one, privatization of public sector corporations, including those in the finance sector. Stop the corporatization of government-run manufacturing and service entities in railways, ordnance, manufacturing, ports, and similar areas. This is the same sort of struggle that we as working class people are facing in the United States and the West in general, the issue of austerity and privatization. 6, a withdrawal of the draconian circular of forced premature retirement of government and public sector employees. And 7, provide a pension to all, restore earlier pension schemes, and improve the EPS 95, which I believe is their Social Security Administration. Now, it's important to note that this march on Delhi of 250 million persons only lasted 2 days, the 26th and the 27th. But the general strike didn't stop there. While millions of working class people went back home, went back to work, still tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of working people are stationed outside of Delhi. They've set up encampments and they plan on doing a prolonged general strike until their demands are met. I wanted to take a step back and kind of look at the broader picture about what this movement means and what we as working class people in the West can learn from our Indian comrades. Now, first and foremost, as working class people who in the West in particular have suffered a barrage of failures and setbacks, particularly in the United States, time and time again, we should look at what's happening in India as a serious victory for the working class. These are working class people by the hundreds of thousands, by the millions, fighting back and standing up for working class issues, not only in India, but in the grand scheme of things of working class people all around the globe. And in 2020, a rough year on all fronts, but a rough year in particular for working class people, we should look at this as a victory, and we should take heart. But we should also take a moment to potentially learn from what our Indian comrades have done and see how we could apply them here in the West. Now, one of the biggest failings I believe the left has had in the United States, in the West, is obviously the level of infighting we've had. There's obviously a very clear schism between the sort of neoliberal wine mom brunch Democrats and the progressive branch that has sort of reared its head since 2015 with the rise of Bernie Sanders. But it seems like that schism has not only widened in the West, in the United States, but we have seen even more schisms develop in particular, on the more left, on the more progressive side. It seems like on the side of progressives, we have progressives that are a little more coordinated towards social issues, towards women's rights, towards gay rights, towards a sort of, I don't want to put it this way, but a sort of woke culture dialogue that is a little more paralleled with that of neoliberal Democrats. They focus on these issues, and while they are pushing important issues that are good for all of us as a whole, as a working class community, like Medicare for all, ending the wars overseas, and making sure that billionaires pay their fair share of taxes, we see a lot less militancy from some of these progressives like Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Sahid Buttar. Now, I don't want to sit here and shit on these progressives. I don't want to make the schism worse, but I just want to highlight the fact that we have a sort of camp of progressives that are, sort of gaining positions of power, and they're sort of still playing politics. And then we have others on the left, namely those like Jimmy Dore, and on his show where he's very militant, very in your face about fighting for the working class. And of course, on the left, we have those that go full bore. To the left, we have communists, democratic socialists, and anarchists who are really balls to the wall, nose to the grindstone, no excuses in their fight for working class issues. So as I said, this sort of highlights a more nuanced series of divides that are happening on the left. And it is these sort of divides which has always stood in the way of the left organizing and creating coalitions that are actually capable of sustaining the power and durability to actually get lasting change in countries around the globe. And that's what's so amazing about this general strike in India, is that all the different class differences and professional differences, trade union differences, and full-out political differences from socialists, more generic left-leaning anarchists, communists, socialists, everybody coming together, forming these coalitions which are essential to change and creating such a big mobilization effort. That is the biggest thing that we need to learn as the left in the West, in the United States, is although we may not agree on exactly how everything needs to be done or what we even want the world of the future to look like, we can agree that we all have similar class interests. And at the end of the day, unless we can start putting some of these identity politic issues or woke culture issues behind us, and that's not to say to fight for equal rights and keep pushing for the rights of women, the rights of LGBTQ people, etc. It just means that we need to join together and focus on working class issues that are going to benefit the millions and millions of Americans as a whole. Because if we can do that and push a platform that focuses on that and that we can all join hands together with, we will see those who are not necessarily part of leftist camps in the United States come towards our cause. And that is what we have seen here in the case of India. I think the other biggest thing we need to learn from our comrades in India is that this level of organization, 250 million persons, did not come together overnight. It did not come top down. You don't get 250 million people all organized around a general strike unless you have done community-based grassroots organization on the micro level. And it is my view that that is another reason why we failed in the United States to really build, and we still are fighting a good fight and we're seeing progressive victories, but I feel it is that lack of true grassroots, of micro connection, mobilization, that ended up costing us not only the presidential election, but several seats across the country as well. We sort of expected with Bernie Sanders, if we get Bernie Sanders elected to the presidency, we'll sort of have a trickle-down theory of mobilization of progressive victories throughout the country. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And the reason why it doesn't work that way is because, like we're seeing now, in the end, Bernie had little to no power despite the huge base of people that were willing to vote for him in the primaries and in the general election. That all amounted to nothing because those millions and millions of people did not come from grassroots organized communities. They had not really organized on a community level with their neighbors, with their colleagues, with unions in their workplaces. And it is those sort of coalitions, that sort of organization effort that will create the systems and the safety net for working class people in order to join together and do a prolonged strike, which will be necessary in order to get lasting change in this country. And to me, that is the biggest lesson we can learn from our comrades in India, is that we can't just elect a president, we can't just elect a governor or even representatives and people in the state houses, etc. Those are powerful victories and those help obviously the cause. But unless we start organizing our workplaces, organizing our communities, creating things like local chapters of the DSA, trade unions, local activist groups that can all join together and mesh together in a common cause and sustain a general strike, we as working class people really won't have any power. Even if we get another AOC or some other progressive elected to a city council seat or a state house seat or a congressional seat, we only have so much power in the end to hold them accountable. However, if we've organized our workplaces, if we've joined unions, if we've created community outreach programs, we can do something like a general strike strike if our progressive leaders fail to deliver on the promises that they've given us. So again, guys, what's happening in India right now is a huge victory for working class people. And we should take that to heart. And after such a hard year, really feel in our bones, really help it energize us and encourage us to get out there and mobilizing. But we also need to look at the mistakes that we've made as organizers and look at the successes that they've had in India and learn from our own mistakes and look at our big brother working class, our big brother proletarian in India and say, hey, that's something that if we want lasting change, we can do too, and it's going to take a lot of work on the interpersonal, on the microcosm level in order to get it done. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you. I'm so sorry. I want to apologize to our subscribers for not producing content as much recently. Got a new groove going in life, got a lot of things going on. The holidays, of course, makes it hard. But I'm really wanting to get back into it, doing more thinking out loud videos. Johnny and I have sat and had a discussion about being more disciplined, about getting a podcast out every week for you guys. We're going to make it happen. But again, like I said, we've just been kind of getting into a new groove of life, feeling good. Both of us are feeling really positive and energetic and hopeful about the future. But we're just sort of feeling it out and trying to get our legs here and find a work-to-life balance. And I think we're getting there. And we're going into the new year, guys. It's going to be our second year doing YouTube. And we're really excited to start producing new content for you guys and keep growing this channel. So we'll get some more content out for you this week. And until then, guys, I'll see you around and love you very much. Bye.